really dull for quite some time. Forget and not unrecord it. Recording in progress. We'll give the people another minute or two. We have a light turnout. Usually we have a few more folks. Why don't we give everybody another minute or two and see who shows up and go from there. So we have nobody from US Chess, which is sort of surprising. Usually one of them shows up, either John or Linda or Dan. I mean, they've all been invited. Al Lawrence will not be here. It's his birthday today, so we wish him a happy birthday, but he's obviously out doing whatever birthday things it is he does. So he's busy.
He hasn't replied to my text, which was quite insulting. So
there's Ivanka. I don't know who Ivanka is. I mean, I know there's a student I'm beginning to see named Ivanka, but maybe she does writing, so we'll see. I invited my chess club. I didn't really know that any of them would come, but I invited them with the idea that I mentioned the CJA quite a bit and thought that some of them might want to know what we actually do, right? Because our club is mostly younger kids, but we have some adults who mix in, and we have a variety of people like Dan Heisman, who's a judge for us and who does some work with the CJA occasionally, who's also on my list, right? So there's Ray coming in. So I invited our club. I'm going to be curious to see who all attends or not. Certainly gives them a better chance to see more of what we do and so forth. But and we're always looking to get younger people involved, so it kind of worked out well there. I assume Ray is Ray Linville, but I don't know for sure. So okay, it is okay. So and here's Lewis coming and joining us. So hi Ray, how are you? All right, and Lewis, I think I clicked in, so I think he's here. A lot of Texans, right? Because Alexi and Lewis are both Texans, and then Chris and Grayson are in Texas too. So we get a large Texas contingent tonight. So, all righty. I guess it's 8:03. Should we get started here? And everybody else who comes in can just catch up.
Sure.
That sound like a plan?
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
So thank you all for coming. We have, fortunately for me tonight, I'll talk some, but I won't be the only speaker. In fact, I thought Grayson and Chris would kind of start us off. And there's Dan Heisman, speaking of Dan. I thought that Grayson and Chris would start us off with the website, and then Mark would talk about the magazine some and how that's been going. Grayson and Chris will talk about the website, of course. Do you need me, Grayson? Do you need me to share the site, or do you want me to have you share your screen? How do you want to do that?
You can. I think probably us sharing the screen would be easier, right?
Well, we don't actually have the site up on the screen, right?
Not yet.
But if you want to do that, go for it. I actually don't know how to do that. I'm not a big Zoom person.
Okay, so
but,
I think if I share screen here, I should be able to share this screen here and have the chess journalist stuff. I'm not on the home page here. One sec, I'll get to the home page. It should go. So this is we haven't. Go ahead. You can explain and get sort of have me move whenever you want me to go to a different page. Let me do that. Okay.
Right. Well, I think the biggest changes in the website, of course, it looks much different now. For a few reasons, it's on a new theme, a different design. But I mean, I think that fundamentally we're trying to keep the website much the same. So the content that will be on there will be more or less what is on the old website too. It's just we're trying to let's say make the website look a little bit more modern, run more simply, and just be a lot easier for users to get around, and also for me to maintain, let's say. I think that's the main thing. I don't know, you might know more about that.
Well, and I think one of the other things, probably the most important thing that has driven the whole idea of changing up the Chess Journalist website was that, as Grayson's pretty familiar with the WordPress platform from his own site. But as he kind of began digging into to some of the requests that Joshua had for updates and such, he kept running up against things just not working, plugins that he'd go to update and they would literally crash the site. And he reached out to me for help on some of these things because that's what I do for a living. And as I started digging around, it was pretty much immediately apparent to me that kind of the foundation of the site was aging out a bit, shall we say. It was, built on an older theme that didn't seem to be well supported. A lot of the pages were built in a page building plugin called Elementor that it's very popular, used on a lot of sites, but it just didn't seem to be playing well with the older themes. So yeah, I think the very first thing that, when I talked to Joshua about, kind of my concerns for the site and, the problems that Grayson was running up against, the first thing was just bringing it up to date, getting it, on a firm foundation, something that would be easy to update, easy for, literally anybody who's a webmaster or even somebody who's an author writing posts, just all around to make things easier to use, and something that'll hopefully be be around for a long time and able to serve the needs of your group well. I'm a designer, so I'm always looking at visual things. And one of the things that I felt about the old site is that it didn't necessarily represent the chess journalists of America in the professional light that it seemed like a group like you should be represented in. The design changes, we've tried to make things look journalistic, editorial, things to look a little bit traditional, but also up to date, and just give you a look that's professional, and ideally just to present as a group that hopefully will be attractive to people, younger people, older people, both, to to be a part of. So that's the kind of lofty goals beyond just making things work and fixing all of the broken links and that sort of thing. Is that about cover what we're trying to do? Yeah,
I don't know about specific changes we made. I think many of the pages are, like I said, still similar to what they were, just updated. Yeah,
yeah, that's right. In terms of content, we're not trying to do anything crazy or new right off the bat, but the pictures have very similar content, just structured a bit differently. Right. Again, broken links. There were quite a few broken links that we brought that content in. So hopefully things are working now and will continue to do so. Yeah. I don't know how many of you guys have had a chance to look around a bit, but we're certainly open to questions or concerns or thoughts.
So I will say we will be working more with the awards. I only recently sent them sort of the situation with the awards. So the awards section, which by the way, at the moment just has the judges, but they did a really nice job where they put the judges in sort of boxes here, and we can click on a box and it breaks out, and it kind of gives us the thing about the judge and so forth. And they're not all here by any means. That's because I didn't send them all the information. I guess sent them whatever I sent them the day we were working on this, or a couple of days we were working on this. So there are a few that need to be updated, and there also are a few who are not listed. Like I know Dan's listed below, but Dan's a current judge. But I don't think I sent them. I think I just hadn't gotten around to sending them Dan's biography. And so there's one for Ray, and some of them, like I said, aren't here at the moment. I think Lexi is here. Here's hers, and so forth. So in any case, a lot of the current ones, or some of the current ones, are here. Myron and Rachel, of course, will will be retired after this year, but we left them up this past year and such. And then that sort of takes us through the awards, but we'll have a lot of reworking for the awards because of course we have we have several months before award season, right? So award season will kick off later. I clicked on the post earlier by accident, kind of show you what they did with the post where they gave us some pictures. The humor and chess people are still looking for like 40 pages to fill for their third volume. So if we have some humor and chess that we can get out there, I guess they finished 2 in 2021. It looks like, and they're trying to get. I think they said they had another 40 or so pages they need for 2023 or for the next one. Do you want to go like you sort of explain each page? Do you just want me to highlight some more pages for them? How do you want me to proceed, guys?
Well, do you have a preference, Grayson?
I don't. I think either way.
I guess one other thing I'd like to say is that, right now I would say we're probably 85% or so ready to launch. We've got a lot more content than we have on the existing site. I wanted to say that there's definitely a reason that we decided to leave the awards section until last. And the main reason there is that there's so much complexity around the process. And I think, we oh, by the way, sorry, I'll keep on talking. But I think one of the things that's really important before we start laying out pages in that section is kind of figuring out how the process can be simplified internally among you all, and it'll just take a little thought, but it's the intention is just to make things run more smoothly, to take hopefully a bit off of Joshua's plate, automate where we can, definitely make the checkout process a lot easier. And that's, I think that it's more technical. I think that probably would fall more into my court than something that Grayson's going to be doing. But one of the things that's been kind of fun is to have, we've been working together on this, and I think Grayson has, a lot better sense of how sites are built from the ground up, how things work on the back end, how, basically how all the pieces come together. And I think he'll be able to make changes to the site, a lot more easily than he has been able to up to this point.
Could I ask a question?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
First of all, this is fantastic stuff. I'm really happy with this. I have a question about our archives, and I guess it's for Joshua too.
Okay.
The back issues of the Chess Journalist.
Yeah, so I've sent them, so some of them, so they kind of vary. So some of them we have up here, right? There is, of course, the most recent issue that came out 2 days ago isn't here yet, but will be shortly. Then this has like the most recent ones. Then they've designed the archive part to go back to the 70s, etc. However, they're not loaded in yet.
Okay.
So we have it designed so that we will be able to put them in. I have your box. Grab your box that you gave me, right, full of old issues, among other things.
Yeah.
And we can put them in. Some of them have been scanned and are saved and are ready for them. They just haven't had a chance to update them in, put them in. Others I haven't scanned in for them, but we have everything prepared for them so that when we get a chance, we'll get everything in going back.
Okay, because the next time you stop by to pick up stuff for Dan's tournament, I found more.
Okay.
I'm still cleaning out
right.
boxes, so be forewarned.
Okay, good. We'll be very happy to have it. But yeah, they have it like it's designed so that we can put it in. It's just it hasn't all been uploaded yet and so forth. And I had sent them some of the stuff I had sent them. They haven't had time to do, and some of it I haven't had time to do. But we'll continue to work on it throughout the fall, or not throughout the fall, throughout the spring. If we have someone handy, like if I end up getting like an intern who's local, I might get them to help me out and do some of this, like, in person. Usually our interns are people who are not in person handy. So if that's the case, then obviously sending stuff's a little bit trickier.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's designed to allow us to do that. It just hasn't all been done yet.
Yeah, the other question I have is there, I mean, this is way beyond my technical knowledge, which is limited to start out with. Is there going to be a way to somehow digitally index all these?
What do you mean by digitally indexed?
Well, so you can have a search function.
Yeah, well, so all the PDFs should be OCR'd, which means that they'd be searchable, right? OCR is just like the tech term for optical. I forget the actual CNR part, but basically their word makes them word searchable. And I know the ones that Mark has been sending out have been. I don't know if we go back further if they are or not. Now, whether we do it so that you could OCR everything at once, I'm not quite sure.
Yeah. No, the reason,
But
yeah,
each issue should be, I mean, we can even try right now.
yeah.
right?
The reason I ask, Joshua, is because I do a lot of chess research on newspapers.com.
Yep.
And it's really helpful to have their search function, which is an adventure anyhow, because depending on how you word some of your
Mhm.
your search functions, you'll get different results.
Yes, I use
stuff.
newspapers.com myself quite a bit. Yes, they will.
Yeah, technically speaking, in a perfect world, if we had every issue output as a PDF directly from whatever program it's laid out in, whether that's Microsoft Word or InDesign or whatever software you're using, that would be the best. Honestly, the older issues, I don't know what we're looking at there. Parts are probably going to be searchable. Some things obviously are graphics. It's a crapshoot when you start scanning this stuff.
Well, some of them were typed on paper.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, OCR isn't perfect technology, but it's certainly better than nothing.
Yeah.
So looking up timbre, I guess pulled, what is this? This is issue 146. So not too long ago, but a little ways ago. And I did a search for Tamburo, right? And you show up 3 times right there, and right there. So I don't know that it's perfectly accurate. I haven't read the issue to find out, but I suspect that at least going back, what is this, 2014, they certainly are searchable. When you get further back, it becomes less clear, but we're certainly going to keep that in mind.
Okay. That's cool. That's great. Because they shouldn't be in somebody's box in an attic, if you know who I'm referring to.
Yeah, we understand. We'd like to have them where everybody can access them.
And I'll tell you, the challenge here too on this particular page is that there's so many back issues. And if you put every one of them, even as the current site is, I don't know if you guys have noticed or been on that page much, but right now that page loads, I think probably the last 5 or 6 issues. It loads the whole issue in a single PDF viewer, and it slows things down so much. So the way that we've, obviously it's a bit of a compromise, but what we've done here is we've got like the 5 most recent issues as just graphic thumbnails that pop up very quickly, but you can see immediately what they are. You click the link, it opens a PDF in your browser. You can read that in your browser. You can download it to your computer. So the way we've got it structured lets us display an awful lot of information on a single page while hopefully keeping it pretty easy to find what you're looking for. That was the intention anyway.
Yeah, I think it really does that. And it's certainly better than the other one where they were all that really long list and you'd kind of look around that long list and hope you could find the issue and so forth. So this, while not complete in the archive sense, is headed certainly in the right direction, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, and I think one of the other big things that we don't have this now, but one of the things that is that Joshua has described for the publications page, and this is part of the reason that link is called Publications and not Chess Journalists of America. From what I understand, Joshua would like to kind of feature some of the the member publications as well. So I think we're going to be looking at figuring out how to give them their own link to where each one of these member organizations can also have their publication there if they want it to be. and to whatever degree they want it visible as well, whether they want us to host their entire magazine as a PDF, whether they just want us to link to their site with a thumbnail, because obviously everybody, I can see that every individual organization is going to have different different processes, different ways that they do things. Some people might not want to show their publication to non-members, for example. So I think that might be a post-launch kind of thing. That would be a big project coordinating it, but it would be a great way to to promote the members of the chess journalists.
And then, yeah, I think it should, I mean, that was certainly the idea, and I'll talk about that a little bit later too, right? Some like Dwayne down there in Southern California, they've been very thoughtful and supportive of us hosting as well as sharing like their actual magazines. Other groups are a little less, sure about that idea, but have sent us some and so forth. So we can certainly continue to discuss that. I will show, so there's the pictures. We don't actually have any pictures up yet, right?
Yeah, there's nothing up. I don't think we actually have that many pictures to put up yet. I was hoping to get at least 10 or 20 to put in a gallery, but that's
we're not the most photographic group.
Well,
I think the last 2 or 3 years we haven't even remembered to like take a picture at the annual meeting. We have some annual meetings where we have a lot of pictures, but then we have a lot of annual meetings where we're all like, right? And we all kind of, but in any case, yeah, so we'll try to get you some pictures so that we can build that out better. We'll talk more about these all shortly, or I'll talk more about these 3 projects. At the moment, they're mostly lists. We're going to go here to distinguished contributors. These are people who were extremely significant, especially early on in the CJA. And we'll talk more about what we're going to do with those names and so forth. And then links, they did an incredibly cool thing for links. So the links used to be a short, or not a short list, a long list of all kinds of craziness. And so they broke it down into sections. And then I think it was Grayson had this really cool idea to give us a map. And you can click on the map and click the state, and it takes you right to the state organization.
Oh,
Yeah, really cool. So that was, I mean, other the other things haven't been really neat, but I think this is just kind of a really fun way of, I don't know that Utah goes to Utah, but oh yes, it does have Utah chess. Okay, I had no idea what Utah's organization was, to be honest. But yeah, so you can just click on the map and go right to the state links of whatever state you're looking at. So forth. Sophia, are you waving? Do you want New York, or are you?
No, I was
you have
going
a
to say
question?
goodbye to James. No, I think it's
Oh.
lovely. No, the
Okay.
New York State is getting a rebrand.
Ah,
Hopefully, yeah, I've got some funds for them, so they're going to look completely different, probably by August of 2023.
okay. So they're going to be redone as well. So all right, very
Completely.
good. So yeah, and
Well,
so
I
then we
think the
have.
map
I think
is really cool. I wish the Chess Federation would do that. It's much more of a visual aid, and as I'm a teacher, that's like much easier for most people to read these days. So, yeah.
Well, we can mention it too. I don't think anybody from US Chess is here yet, but we can certainly mention it to them that this is a great map, and Grayson did a really cool thing putting it together there. So,
well, honestly,
and then,
it's a pretty simple thing too. It's it's just a little WordPress plugin.
Yeah, it looks really cool. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
and then there's a bunch of other ones, and I guess before they put them on here, they checked them to make sure they work. But I think yes, over the years, people sort of said, "Can you add this link?" And somebody would say yes, and so they were added. I don't know. I mean, I can honestly say I don't know that most of these links that are on here, right? Like I haven't ever been to them or know anything about them or anything like that. Obviously, some of them are very famous. ACM, New in Chess. Others, All the Kingsmen is a place in New Jersey. So for you Texas folks, may not be. It's a New Jersey company that is decide or asked us, I guess, at some point to be put on the list. So.
Is Monroy still working?
Honestly, I have no idea. I think they checked them though before, so I would imagine it is. But where is that's chess data, right? Let's see if Monroy is working or not. Yes, Monroy is working, and you can, I mean, I don't know anything about the website particularly, but you can go to the website and it's still up and everything. So.
Yeah, and honestly, I think this page could probably use further review. You know, I'm not a chess player myself in particular, so you know, it would definitely, I think, benefit from having closer eyes on it. Some of these may be a bit outdated.
Okay.
But again, once it's in there, it's easy enough to, you know, to remove, to add, whatever needs to be done, since we've got the, you know, at least the structure set up. Super easy.
Yeah, and that was one thing. I mean, as great as Vashista was at keeping us alive and floating, he didn't really like improve anything, right? His main goal for the year that he was going to be there, right, was to keep us alive and online and keep it at least semi-functional, right? And he did a fine job doing that before he went off to UNC. But yeah, it's nice to see. I mean, obviously, you guys have a lot more knowledge and experience, and have done a wonderful job updating this and making it much more functional and much easier to use and so forth. And then we have the about section is just, you know, us, board of directors, constitution, code of ethics, all this sort of thing that we've had here for a long time. So and if you look in posts, I see Dwayne, if for some reason Dwayne gets popped up in the top of my Zoom thing there. So here's the humor in chess from December when we put this up. And I reminded everybody that you need about 40 pages to go before you can hopefully get get that third book out. Oh, he didn't respond or something. So okay, so in any case, so I think this brings us through the website. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was muted, and that most of the people would say that's good that Dwayne's muted, because he'll be here for 18 hours anyway. But thank you for the citation and the note. We appreciate the chess journalists did recognize our humor in chess books, and we know there's a lot of chess books that come out, and we truly appreciate that. And all of our money goes to the Tinker scholarships. I don't keep any of it, nobody else does. And my co-author Ralph, we work hard to make us visible, and we thank the chess journalists for doing that. It's a great pleasure. But I did want to mention that, and hopefully anybody in this meeting who wants to contribute a funny story or a whole bunch of funny stories, we could still use another chapter, and we could use another 10 or so stories total. So if you got something funny, share it with me, share it with Ralph, and we'll be happy to put it in and get book 3 done before the US Open. That's the goal. Thank you, Josh.
Sure, my pleasure. So, okay, so are there any other, is there, Grayson and Chris, did I forget anything on the website here?
No, I think you pretty much touched on everything we've done. You know,
Okay.
you know, there's definitely a lot more that could be expanded, but you know, again, the main goal was just to get you guys on a good foundation and something that was flexible and, you know, working properly, and that it could be built on. And, you know, again, it would just hopefully serve the organization for a long time. Whoever's, you know, and be easy to work with, regardless of who's doing it down the road.
Excellent. Well, thank you. It's certainly very much appreciated. And we will continue to work through it and so forth. But yeah, I think you're right. I think most of it is here, but the awards will be sort of the next couple of months, right? We have to kind of figure out and straighten out the awards. We know what we want to do, but we also know that we don't want to kill the coordinating judge, right? So we'd like to make it a little bit easier on me. Since I do end up yeah, it'd be good to make it a little bit easier on me. So, all right. If they don't have anything else to say, then I will turn the floor over to Mark, who's going to talk about the current magazine, The Chess Journalist, and we'll kind of let him go from there.
Hello, everybody. the latest issue you should have received late last week via a link from an email that Joshua sent out. Hope most of you got a chance to take at least a short glance through that. I believe it was probably the best issue we've put out since I started. We ended up with a theme of art based on just some initial conversations that Joshua had with us, and we thought it turned out to be a pretty good idea. I ended up with a very nice interview with world champion correspondence player John Edwards. If you check, if you want to read something, that's the best thing. There's a ton of pictures in this one too that were contributed from various sources. John Cromelier, and then the book review from Rachel, and there's it was a very enjoyable one to make. I hope that you guys got that out of there. The one thing I would love to get is people to send back both positive and negative feedback. I know it can get better, but sometimes you're close to it and you need some other people to tell you what you're missing. So it'd be great if I got some emails saying, hey, I really think this is good, but this would be better if you did it this way or what have you. I think that'd be good. And if anybody has any questions, I'd be glad to answer those. And I have only one other topic on this that I'll say first before we go to questions, if there is any, is we're considering heavily moving the schedule of this, basically staggering it one more month later. So it would come out at the end of January, early February, the end of April, beginning of May, etc. It seems to fit our schedule better for the award sessions and the winners, and then it also keeps us a little bit more away from the holiday. Trying to get everything done during the holiday is difficult. So those are things we've been considering doing with it. So if anybody has any questions, I'll be glad to take those now.
Mark, could I add on one notation about the new column, The Queen's Corner,
Oh, yeah.
particularly for Alexei and Sophia? Yeah, we started a new feature called The Queen's Corner in this upcoming issue. I don't know if you've had a chance to take a look at it, but yeah, this time we featured the girls' room with Jennifer Shahade and Kim McVeigh doing a lot of the writing and photography. So please bear this in mind. Its intention is to honor past, present, and future chess queens over the board and behind the scenes. And that's really all I wanted to say about it. That it is a new a new feature for us. So yeah, so that's it.
What page is it on?
I think we're the last.
It's
think
probably
we-
around 52 or 51.
It was
right
the
in that
last
range.
article, Mark. It was the last one you ran. So and it really ended up. It rounded us up nicely, finished us up nicely. The positioning. It's the very last thing. It's just that this issue isn't online yet, correct?
Correct. It will be, I'm sure, in a few days or whatnot. But yeah, it's been sent to them. So if they get, it's in their, like the most recent, the email was from Thursday. So the Thursday email from me has the PDF. And if you open up the PDF, I believe it's the last article.
It is.
Probably around page 50, 51, something like that.
Yeah, you'll like it. It's the Queen's Corner. And we're looking for ideas. This was the first one and ongoing. Yeah. So give it a look, please.
Yeah, we're always looking for authors for everything.
Yes. Yes.
More authors are always good. Otherwise, you get stuff written by me a lot, right? So we like to avoid that. More authors is always good.
Anybody have any questions or comments about the issue we should discuss?
I have a question, which may be very stupid, but here goes. If someone joins, do they automatically get a free subscription to the Chess Journalist? How does that work exactly? And who do we promote it?
So I'll sort of answer this since
Thank you.
I'm in charge of the, I guess, in charge of the list. So basically what happens, right, is when you join, whether you join as a member, gets a, you come to the US Open and you come to the meeting and you pay for membership there, or you join to submit for the awards and you join and become a member that way. Both are basically treated the same way. And so what happens is that now that basically you would get a membership for a year, which is 4 issues of the magazine. So in the old days, you weren't getting a magazine. So we just let everybody who joined stay on the list because we weren't putting out a magazine. So you just kind of joined and stayed on the list. And then we decided 2 years ago when we started putting the magazine out again, that we'd be much more accurate, shall we say, and making sure people got their 4 issues, but then didn't just keep them rolling on the list, right? So we sort of took it as a, you've gotten, if you paid for and joined in 2018, you got your 4 issues, but it may not have been until 2022, but you got your 4 issues, and then you'll need to rejoin if you're going to continue to receive the magazine. And most people do join through the awards ceremony or through the awards, right? Because there's a discount there. You join for 15, you get a year of the membership, and you get 1 entry into the awards, right? So most people join that way. Usually at the US Open, there's a few people who will join every year. The Liebermans were sort of famous for this. They would always make sure to give their $10, and they were always very generous and gave $10 a piece, even though they kind of counted as 1. Right, that's how they wanted it. And when I started doing things in 2012, they made it very clear that that was how they did things and that they would be counted and worked as 1. So that was fine. I did that. But in any case, they would always, pay for 2 memberships. But yeah, usually we get like 5 or 6 every year, except this past year we were, of course, at the US Open in California, and it was a fairly lightly attended meeting. And so we actually didn't have anyone sign up at the meeting, but we had a lot more people who signed up through the awards, right? Because we had our busiest award season ever, and we had 252 entries or something. So I think everybody gets signed up through the awards, and then, right, I don't know that the US Open was that well attended out in California. I know the Californians showed up in mass, but I think a lot of people from the East and so forth just didn't come out. I'll be curious to see, I guess it's in Grand Rapids, Michigan next year. So we'll see who all is there. I know I'll be there. Hopefully most of you will be as well. Alexi usually does some articles about it, so I suspect she'll be there. Hopefully Mark, who's in Iowa, can make it up too. I don't know what his schedule and what your schedule over there in Minnesota is. But in any case, usually there's a few people who join at the meeting, and of course a lot of people who become members. And we get a few random members who just sign up through the website every once in a while. So in the old website, it was very difficult to check. With the new website, and we're still working out the join feature a little bit, but I suspect it will be easier to be aware of that. So. But that's sort of, hopefully that answers your question and sort of tells you where our members come from and such.
Yes, thanks so much, Joshua.
Sure. Any other questions about the magazine? Okay. I used to say that Mark Taylor was our best editor, and I can't say that anymore, thanks to Mark. Not that Mark Taylor didn't do a great job, but and it was a very different magazine when he did it, but Mark certainly done a very wonderful job for us, and we've gotten lots of great issues out the last year. So I'm very appreciative of all his great work, and look forward to it continuing. So. All right, so we've covered the website, we've covered the magazine. Now I was going to talk about the award season briefly, unless there's any questions on the magazine or the website. Okay, so the award season, I'm sorry. All right, sure, go ahead.
I think you might have answered. You don't mail this, you send it out via email, right?
Yeah, we do not mail them anymore. They would mail them when they were smaller and mail was cheaper, and they would still have lots of financial difficulties. We do have some money because we haven't mailed an issue out in a long time. So we have some CJA award money that we do have and have built up over the last few years. but we would pretty much go through it in probably one mailing, maybe two. Just because it's, I mean, mail has shot up exponentially in the last few years, and it's expensive, especially with all the color photos and stuff to print. It would, like, to get a good copy that was printed in color, right, would get very expensive very fast. There will be, I don't know if any of them have been, but I think Mark's putting together a booklet of nice printed ones that will be sent to the white collection, so that the white collection has a good copy of the journal, as they have had going back some years. So they're missing some issues, but the library, the white collection, does have a nice collection of them, if not a complete one. It's not as good as Pete's, but it's a pretty good one.
I
And
have the
guess-
latest.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I have the latest issue at the publisher now to get a nice copy to send to them.
Okay, yeah.
Great.
Back on one little area, is there like I haven't gone through all of the pages yet. Is there a section for like a junior writer? Like a young person?
Anytime a junior wants to write, they can. We don't have a special section for it. If we had enough people writing, we could make a section for it, but as of currently, we don't have that.
Okay.
What did you have in mind, Sophia?
As you know, I'm an idea person. I would like I would like those high schoolers to see this magazine. That's all. And,
We did have a conversation with the St. Louis University, where one of the teachers there is having some chess courses, and we shared the magazine with the students that were in that course. We asked them if they were interested in writing. They all happen to be international masters or grandmasters, and I know Grayson was thinking about writing an article, but we haven't seen that yet. But he would qualify for that category too.
no,
Of course, we've been keeping him busy with other stuff. Sorry.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry, Sophia.
I know. I'm not pushing him. I'm just saying he was talking about doing it at one point, and he fits the category.
I have an IM in my school right now. And as you know, I did have a GM and another GM. So, I mean, and then I have another like 2,200 that wants to write. And so maybe I'll set them on a mission, but they've been writing for Chess Life.
Yeah,
So-
it doesn't need to be an IM or a GM who writes. It was just coincidental that group that we had was all that. Because
Sometimes-
somebody who's rated 1,200 could probably write just as well, if not better,
Well, it
depending
just-
on what the subject is.
Yes, exactly. But I was just thinking, you know, because last time we put out some flyers at the National High School that's coming up again in where are we going this time? DC. It feels like we're going sort of the same area. And I was thinking on the if we could make a better poster, we can put a QR code, and somehow the QR code can link them to the site too. So yeah.
What do you
That
think?
would definitely be a Grayson and Chris question. I have no idea how, I mean, I'm not, I think the idea is a fine one. I have no idea how they would do that. Grayson, Chris, any ideas or thoughts?
It's not
I had a
hard.
question about that. First, I'd like to support what Sophia says. Is there, again, I'm going out in the blue here and don't know if that plane will fly, but is there opportunity where we can have the Junior Chess Journalists of the Year award, where we recognize somebody who is in high school or below, who wrote article, story, or whatever that might explain and talk a little bit about chess, and it turns out to be a good quality item. So I toss that one out. Thank you.
What do you think, Joshua?
Well, so there is, if you go through the long list of CJA awards, there are several junior categories. So there are categories designed for junior writers. In this case, they use the US chess designation of under 21. Right, so that's the US chess designation of a junior. And so we use that category, right? Categorization, I should say. I don't know. I mean, we can add more categories to that. We haven't been shy about adding categories over the year, though we have 50 plus of them at the moment. And as Grayson can attest to, you can win CJA categories without being like, you can be a junior and win adult categories in writing, right? Like we had several younger authors who won, you know, I don't know that they won best article, but you can win best article and be a 17-year-old. You don't have to be an adult to win best article or to win, you know, best humor or to win best historical article. There are no qualifications as far as age and in any of those categories. And then there are separate categories just for juniors. So there are several junior categories that like very good authors like Mike Klein just can't enter, right? They're just too old. So Alexi, right, again, Alexi's, you know, in her 30s, 40s, whatever she's in, but she's certainly not a teenager anymore. So she's not able to enter in the junior categories, right? So we do have categories set aside for those. If we had juniors who were interested, I'm sure Mark would be happy to have them in the magazine, in the Chess Journalist, you know, to put some articles in there.
I would love it.
I don't know with Grayson and his dad, with Chris, I don't know about the QR code component. We'd have to talk to them and see what their thoughts are. I mean, I'm in favor, like I don't have a problem with it in the slightest, Sophia. I just don't know from a tech perspective what is involved, and they may have left. So I will, at least I don't see them on my Zoom thing. Oh, there's Grayson. Where'd he go? He was here a second ago. So Grayson, is that something we can do or could be done easily, or what's the story with the QR code idea?
I think it should be possible. I don't know exactly myself how that works right now, but
okay,
it should be
so
possible.
we can look into it and sort of see from there, right? We can look into it and sort of see, and then make a decision once we have more information.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, so that, I mean, and I think that's a fabulous idea. I just don't know the tech involved. I'm gonna make a note here though to put it in or try to real quick. I don't know actually that you can even see this thing, but I have my notes for the meeting today, and I can sort of make a QR code note here. So okay. So all right, so we'll go on to the award season. Okay, so the award season last year was a huge success in that we had like 250 entries, which was the most we've ever had when I've been involved. Apparently at some point in the 70s or 80s, there was like 300 at one point, supposedly. Pete, you can weigh in on this a little better than I can.
Oh, I don't have those figures at the tip of my tongue.
But in any case, there were plenty of them. We don't, regardless, there have been times where there were quite a few before this, but it was the largest we had. It was a good number of them. It was a good number of them late in the entry process, which made my life interesting. Right. And we would put everything up so that everybody could access it, right? But then judges would come in and pick what they wanted or what they needed to judge, right? And we did it by Google Docs mostly, and Chris has advised me that may not be the best way to do things, but we had to sit down and talk about it. But either way, I know that the judges and that the other people like to being able to go to the website and like being able to click on the articles and see them. So we want to keep that component, whether or not we, you know, whether we put them into a Google Doc thing or we store them on the website or whatever we do in that regard. And we haven't worked that out yet, but whatever we do in that regard, we know that's something that's very popular. And we know that the judges would like to continue that. It was easy for them to get access. Now, Alexi, I think you just you just did books, correct? You judge books. So in that case, we send them to you, right? That's different. But Ray, I know you judged off the website, right? Where you went and got the different things there, just clicked on the article and got them that way. And you found that to be a good system, didn't you?
I did. It worked.
Yeah, and so, and I think some of the non-judges like that system too, right? Because they can go and they can see all the articles and not really have to bother with, even if they're not judging anything, they can see all the good stuff and whatnot. So we'll try to keep that component, but we're really sort of still working out the website component of it and see how that's going. The dates will probably be the same. Of course, the dates are largely limited by the fact that the meeting is held during US Open week, right? So we always have that set end date will always be somewhere in those 3 days of meetings that the US Open does. So again, we'll try to have all the awards submitted by about June 19th. That's a Sunday. We used to do it on June 15th, and I get all these emails from people who are like, I'm busy, I'm working on this and this and this. Can I submit it to you on the weekend? And I say yes, and so forth. So we decided to just make it the 19th, and everybody can make it easier for everybody. Because almost everybody except for US Chess has other jobs, right? Like all the state magazine guys. Louis, you can probably weigh in on this more than anybody, I think, in the group. But most of the state magazine guys, right, have other jobs. It's not like you get to run Texas Nights as a professional, right? I mean, you have other work you have to do and so forth, I imagine. So I know that's true for certain other states and such. So we try to make it easier for them. And then I try to give the judges a month to do the judging, right? So try to give you like July 1st to August 1st to do the judging. And then I need a few days to deal with all the scores that come in before we do the meeting on the 4th or whatever day we're doing the meeting. So, and hopefully there may be ways to streamline that a little bit. Grayson and I will talk about that some more, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'll just say, I think there's definitely going to be a way to make that a lot easier for both the judges and you as the coordinator who's right. Yeah, definitely.
Great. We're looking forward to that. So we'll definitely be in conversations about that and so forth. So that should be taken care of, hopefully, over the next couple of months. The beginning, John Hartman's not here, so I'm not in a position to ask him directly, but he usually needs the call like around March 10th, but we don't actually start accepting the awards until May 1st. And his call, though he needs to call in March 10th, it's for the May magazine, so it won't be out and published until May 1st or so. So we have from about now till the end of April to come up with our solution. Because it doesn't have to be printed anywhere. And the first person who's going to print it and send it out is John, and that's going to be the May issue of Chess Life. All right, so that will take care of the awards. Does anybody have any questions? Oh, if you have things you want to change about the awards, now is the time to tell me. People have this lovely habit of telling me in July, gee, we should have this award, or some random time in September, gee, we should do this award. That is not the time to tell me. Telling me in February and March as we're gearing up, as we're deciding on the list of award categories and so forth. So like if we want to have a couple more junior category awards, I'm fine with that, but now's the time to have those discussions, not in June when people are submitting stuff and the list of categories has already been printed. So, we can certainly have those discussions in the next couple months, but now's the time to do that. I know Pete wanted to have the interview, the people who get interviewed get a award too, right? So the people who do the interview, the author of whatever the best interview is, gets an award for best interview. And Pete and I had this discussion, I think sometime in the fall, and he said, look, the person who does the award, or who's the subject, is important, right? He's obviously, the answers he gives and the work he puts into answering these questions is important to the interview process. And I agree with him, and I'm fine with that, but it didn't, like, I just happened to remember that, right, Pete? Like, it's quite possible I would have forgotten that, and you would have said to me, why didn't you do this? And I would have said, you told me in September, not in, So February and March is a good time to remind me of those things, and we'll try to we can get them worked in and set up for the upcoming year. So we'll get those, get that taken care of. Are there other award questions?
Did you ever get that fixed about the junior ages? I remember I brought it up to you last year. Is that
well? Yes. So what we will do is we will follow US Chess exactly, and US Chess has an under 21 policy, right? So if you write the article while you're a junior, you can enter it in. If you're 21 after the fact, that's fine. But if you wrote it as a junior, so if your birthday's, in June, but you wrote the article in April as a 20-year-old, that's fine. Right now, if somebody argues with me about it, then I can check birthdays easily enough these days and so forth if I have to. Most of the time, people don't fight over whether a person is X or Y. Every once in a while, somebody does, and somebody points out an error, fine. And then other times, like, I've never had anybody point out an error and then somebody say it's not an error and have like a big fight about it, right? There was a question about someone's status as an American at some point, and you know, I'm not doing the investigation as to whether or not they're an American. They said they were. They said this was where they were born, how they were born. Fine, I'm not going to fight with them. If somebody came to me and said, "Look, there's this birth certificate. He was clearly born in France." Okay, fine, that would be different. But I don't even remember the whole details now. This was a couple years ago. But in any case, you know, we try to be as accurate as we can. We decided to get sort of follow what US Chess does, sort of to the letter of the law, what they do, that's what we'll do. Because at one point, my problem was US Chess has changed their policy over the years and I had not kept up. Right, US Chess had at one point had been under 18, at one point it was under 19. And I think I took mine from the 40s when it was under 18 because I did an article on US chess players in the 1940s. So I kind of screwed it up at first and so forth. So I had some problems there, but we've got it straightened out. We're just going to sort of follow letter to the law, what US Chess says is what we will do. Any other questions? Okay, so there were two issues.
Actually, I did have one more.
All right, go ahead.
So what is the cutoff for books to be considered for book of the year? Like, what is the publication
June
date?
1 to May 31st. So June 1 of 2022 through May 31st of 2023. So
Okay,
you
thank
came out, when did you come out, Alexi?
like June 15th or something?
Yeah, they usually do. McFarland usually puts out a group of books in June, at the beginning of June, right? So that, I mean, not just in chess, but across their catalog. I see them seem to put out a lot of books in June. And so yes, your book will be fine for this coming year. I guess make sure to tell McFarland, though they probably already know and are on top of things. They're pretty I deal with 2 or 3 other people concerning the awards every year, so they're usually pretty on top of it. New in chess, on the other hand, I kind of have to poke a few times to try to get them moving along, and they're nice about it, but they usually need several reminders before they kind of get involved. And then REI is sort of a hit and miss. Some years they submit stuff, some years they don't. And same thing with who's the other publisher? There's another publisher who does submit stuff some years, but not other years. So and then we'll see, right? And then there's self-published these days and some other things like that. So, but yeah, you
And
should
so
have no
they-
trouble getting McFarland to submit yours.
Right, and so those guidelines, if I wanted to send them to McFarland, will be posted pretty soon.
Yeah, by April.
Okay,
But like I said, I'm with them. I correspond with McFarland more than they'd like. So
okay,
and we know all the same people. So you know, Crystal and Hamby is the person who sends out the books, and of course Robbie and so forth. So yeah, we know all the same people. So yeah, I wouldn't worry. They always submit some books. And they usually submit pretty much whatever they printed that year, with the exception of the Gino De Felice stuff, right? So for those of you who don't know, Gino De Felice writes books that are basically just collections of tournament results. So like he has a book of tournament results from 1986 to 1989, and he has a tournament list of tournament results from 1983 to 1985, and so on and so forth. And they're useful for researchers, but they have no reading. Like there's nothing interesting about them from a reading perspective, right? It's just literally charts, right, of who won what and those kind of things. Good for researchers, but not for the average person. So any other questions? All right. So Chris and Grayson, when they were reworking the website, suggested or wanted to talk about 2 different things, or mention 2 different things to us. One is that our membership dues have not changed since I don't know how long. And so there was a discussion on whether or not we wanted to consider changing them or not. Technically, this is a board issue, but the board was sort of like, why don't we talk to our members and sort of discuss? To be honest, I'm not sure if the membership said to us, or if the members said to us, well, what would you use the money for? I honestly don't have an answer for you at this point. So I think it's just sort of something that we can leave as is, but sort of start thinking about. And then if we all said, oh, well, we could do these really cool things, then maybe it's worth it. Or if the answer is, well, we like running the awards, and Mark does a fabulous job with the magazine, and Grayson does a great job with the website, and we don't really need to change our prices, and the $10 is not discouraging to like the average sort of person on the street, and it's not discouraging to the state. Maybe we just leave it the way it is, right? I mean, I don't know that we have, it's just something for us to think about. I mean, certainly if anybody wants to ask a question about that or make a statement about that now, that's fine. It's more just something for us to consider. And then the other issue was they asked if there was stuff that we wanted to member or password protect. Right, our organization, though technically you have to pay to become a member, there is literally nothing on the website that is password protected. So everything is available to everyone. I tend to like that. I think it tends to be sort of promoting of Chet's ideas and sort of the idea of like, you know, spreading information and making information accessible to everyone and things like that. So I tend to be of the viewpoint that we don't need to password protect stuff.
I think the biggest thing that they'll be useful for is something like the journal, which its idea is supposed to be for members, right? And
Right. So there is certainly a possibility there that would be the thing to protect. Certainly, I don't think the links or anything like that would be things not to protect. It's sort of, I mean, like I said, I don't know that we need to make a decision today or tomorrow. From what I understand, Grayson, it would be pretty easy to add protection to a certain area. Is that correct?
yes, definitely.
Okay. So it's not something we need to make a decision on tonight. Probably it's the sort of thing that we would discuss again in August at the actual like full meeting with, you know, more people and so forth. Though quite honestly, the meeting usually gets about 15 to 20 people. So it's not like it's, you know, not like there'll be hundreds of people. That's the delegates meeting, right? That they do every year where they have hundreds of people packed in a room and such. But the annual meeting at the US Open for us is usually 20 to 25 people, all of whom are pretty friendly and nice and know each other pretty well at this point and kind of have a nice time. So we're very fortunate in that regard. But in any case, it's something for us to think about, but apparently it will be easy. If we want to protect the journal, it would be something that we could do is password protect the journal. I will tell you, I'm a member of the Pro Football Researchers Association, and they do that with their journal. Like if you go to the PFRA website, they, the website itself is pretty open with the exception of the journal, which is password protected. It's not a big deal. I don't know. I mean, I could ask them more about their sort of experiences with their webmaster and stuff about what they, you know, how their experience with protecting the journal has been for them, and sort of see what their responses are, what they've liked about it or not liked about it. I don't know for them, that may always have been the case. I guess no, it is now, right? I've only been a member for like 5 or 6 years. And they send out a hard copy of their magazine. Of course, their magazine, their membership is $35 a year. So they get a lot more money. So they feel inclined to send us out, you know, they mail out a physical copy. So because of that, I don't generally need to go to their website to get the magazine, right? I just have the copy in my hand. So I don't know that, you know, much about that, but I can ask them and see what their response is and go from there. And obviously everybody else can kind of think about, you know, what they think about it, and we can talk about it more at another time, but it's something that we've been asked about. So various other projects. Are there any questions about either of those issues?
Well,
Okay, so I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just saying, I've only been on board for about a year. It's been a great year, but I think it's a question of perceived value in some on some level. But I don't know. That just a thought there. But I did want to say that the homepage was phenomenal. The design on it was what we're all about, pen and paper. You know, as we move deeper and deeper into the digital age, it has the right quality, it has the right feel, the chessboard with the positions, and it's quite wonderful. What a job, guys. I mean, wonderful, you know.
Yeah, I think their front picture was an excellent choice. I think they did. I mean, I think all their pictures across the board are good, but I think their front picture is especially nice. And especially good. But I gotta kind of work hard and figure out whose book this is, like what book this is.
What book is
I keep meaning to, and I haven't gotten around to it yet. But I think their front picture here is especially good. And like I said, I think all across the board they did a good job, but
Yeah.
that one's especially nice. There's a couple of last things. These won't take too long for me to get through real quick. These are the sort of things that always get ignored at the meeting because we get to this point and we're done the meeting, right? They have people from another company or another meeting coming in, and so we always rush out the door. But since we're not actually have to rush, if we would give us about 5 more minutes, I'm going to highlight a couple other projects, and then we'll sort of wrap up, and then anything else anybody wants to add. So in history and research, right, we had this living history project. This is where we sort of go and interview people, right? I don't know, the interview with John Curto that was here, maybe it hasn't gotten moved over or something, we can discuss that. But there's a 2-part interview with John Curto, not by me, that was done by Alonzo Ross. And that was on the website, in the old website, and I guess it didn't get moved or something. But anyway, then there's a bunch of other ones that we've done actually that are World Chess Hall of Fame has them, and they were supposed to transcribe them for us. And World Chess Hall of Fame has a lot of stuff that they're doing, and they just don't really have the time, I guess. And so I was thinking that we might, they obviously can keep their copies and all of that, but that we'll take our copies and see about having someone else transcribe them. US Chess Trust has given us some money that we can use for that. In fact, that's what they've given us the money for. It's not money that they've given us that we can use for anything. It's money that they've given specifically for this project. So the US Chess Trust gave us about $1,000, I think it was. I'd have to double check to have the oral histories transcribed. Well, it could be used for whatever, but transcribing the oral histories is pretty much the only expense we have here. So I think that our plan is going to be to go ahead and have them done, and then US Chess Trust will give us the whatever it costs to have them transcribed. And then what will happen is, right, we'll put up the record, and the transcript will be put up here somewhere and be accessed online. Yeah, I don't think US Chess Trust has anything or has any kind of page where they have it or anything. And I guess so if I click on this, does it take I don't know where it takes us. It may not take us anywhere, but eventually there'll be, it takes us to the old page. So in any case, there are 2 from John Curto that will be up sometime soon. And the other ones, we're going to work on the transcriptions, and we'll probably get smooth that over. And then I see Neil McKelvey, who we can add to the group probably. Neil McKelvey, who's 92, and reportedly has an exciting Fisher story and some fun, interesting games with Sammy Reshevsky and some other guys. McKelvey, if you're not familiar, was a chemistry professor, New York's chess scene, 1960s, 70s, 50s. I don't think he's played since the 80s, and maybe not even in the 80s, but he's definitely played in the 70s. Anyway, he's been kind enough to ask me to come in, or kind enough to agree to have me come over and interview him. Probably, I think it's the 20th, February 20th. So that will be good. The magazine collection stuff is publications was mentioned, right? We talked about how we have the chess journalists, and we'd like to add some other ones. I know, for instance, Pete was kind enough to give me several copies that I have scanned, but haven't had a chance to send off to Grayson, of a magazine that was from the eastern part of Pennsylvania. And is it all of New Jersey, or I guess Western New Jersey?
Oh boy, I don't know, but don't forget, I still have that 3rd issue.
Okay, so you still have the 3rd issue. I have the first 2, right? So
I gave you 2, and I couldn't find the 3rd one, but it popped up.
Okay, so I'll have to scan the 3rd one then. But in any case, it came out like only the 3 times, and it was Eastern PA and either all of New Jersey or I guess Western New Jersey. It's a magazine from the 30s, I believe. It's a really interesting and well done, and especially given the time period, really a very well done piece. But it's the sort of thing that's not going to show up anywhere else. So I'd love to have it where we can put it here and you know, somebody can come and take a look at it and see it and things like that.
I'd love to see
ACB
if I'm sorry, Josh, for interrupting, but I would love to see that Texas magazine, if there are any copies anywhere of that thing I sent you.
Oh, yes, and I sent that on to Lewis and to Alexi. Do either of you know anything about that Texas magazine?
I didn't know when I read through it, so.
Okay. All right, so I mean, we can sort of ask around some more and see, and maybe there are some copies. For those of you who don't know, Pete sent me a article about a Texas magazine that was done in the 1930s. That should be sort of interesting to see what was in it and so forth. It sounded like it was an interesting and well done piece, but I mean, we haven't seen a copy of it, so we really don't know. But it'd be fun to include those as well, stuff like that. So there's things like that that we'd like to include if we can find things like that. I don't see any light of day anywhere else. ACB is located, American Chess Bulletin actually has an online presence in a library in India. And I'd like to see if we can, at the very least, link up to it, right? So that people can access it. And they're kind of funny about it. They have some issues online and other issues you can word search, but you can't then access. So like you can type in burn and it will tell you that burn is mentioned in 1955 in this month, but it won't let you see the article. It's a strange setup, but in any case, so things like that we'd like to make a little bit easier for others. And then past TCJ issues we've already talked about. The last two things are distinguished contributors and famous chess journalists. And if we ever get another intern, we probably will at some point. But if anybody knows of somebody who would like an internship, I'd love an intern to go and sort of do. So the pop-up boxes that we have for judges, right? So we have these pop-up boxes. You saw, I think Pete was right here, right? This is Pete. We'd like to do similar for the famous chess journalists and distinguishing contributors. And what we'd like is rather than have me do the research or one of us who's very busy, we'd like to have an intern who I can guide and help in sort of writing up 3 and 4 paragraph mini bios about these different people, right? And then we can put the mini bios and Grayson can do whatever magic it is that Grayson does to make those pop-ups. And so that way, when we click here, right, and we click on the famous journalist, then it will pop up and have, 4 paragraphs to fill about the guy, right? I'd say about the lady or women, but I don't know that there are any, to be honest. I mean, there will be in time, but there just haven't historically been, right? I mean, I don't know very many women who wrote articles for Chess Life or other state magazines even. So at the moment, it does seem to be all men. If anybody knows of any women who belong here, I'd be happy to add them. I just didn't, when I talked to John Donaldson about this, we just didn't have anybody.
Yeah, there's another possibility too, that we could have as a service for people in even state and local magazines is back in the old days, I'm sure newspapers still have some version of this. They used to have like obituary files for living people that were basically articles written and ready to go. And, if you want to test interns and their writing abilities and things like that, start picking out, once a grandmasters or IMs hit 50, make a list and start handing these out as assignments and have them come up with biographical information. So people, when somebody does die, they'll have information ready to go that you don't have to suddenly, run around. We've had some sudden deaths just in the last couple of months, in December and January, and it's like, oh, let's hustle and and find out what we can about it. And it would be kind of fun as a service. I mean, it's just something to put on, on the back burner for now, but it's something we could also do as a service to the chess journalists in America.
That's a good idea, and it would give us more. So we go through spurts where either we have people clamoring to be interns and wanting to help, or we have nobody, right? And then we're looking for interns. At the moment, we're looking. They don't have to be local. If they are, then I can kind of talk to them, and it's easy. If they're not local, and I'm thinking, looking at Sophia and Dwayne and people like that, if you know somebody who would be interested, so they can put it on a byline for their college resumes or applications or
Josh,
whatever. I can certainly put them to work doing this sort of stuff, right? I am more than happy to do that and come up with some kind of, I can even structure it as some sort of plan. So a lot of times I know the schools around here, they like to have it sort of written out as a, why do we want to have these kids do this and why is it useful? So I can certainly put together a few paragraphs or something about that if they need me to.
Josh, are there any colleges that have really good chess programs that actually give credit for chess in any way?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rachel. Go ahead. I know it's your side. Go ahead.
Well, Webster University is pioneering an effort to this end in answer to your question, but they simply haven't gotten there yet. They're giving credit, as Joshua mentioned earlier, most of their students are grandmasters, they're foreign, so they're not, they should do offer a course in chess journalism. They're finding their way, and Jonathan Quest is to be commended, really, for that. But that's the one college giving credit for chess as an elective.
Oh, that's not correct. I mean, University of Texas at Dallas has had online 4-credit college courses about chess and education since 2001.
Well, this is in person. This is in person on campus. You go to classes.
Okay, I didn't hear you qualify it by saying in person.
Oh,
And
sorry, my
his
mistake.
last name is Singler.
Yeah, I know.
You said Quest, so I just
I
want
know that, but I didn't know that you knew it was Singler. So I said Quest is the name he's going by now.
Yeah, well, the reason I asked is that if they have a journalism department at that school, then, or as part of their English curriculum or however they do it, then maybe you can have some kind of coordination between the chess for credit and the journalism for credit in chess, and see if, a college would be willing to do that as a possibility. It's an activity for sure.
Yeah, we can certainly continue. I think when last I had written him, I had written Jonathan because I was curious about they in their book of course catalog book, they have like several chess classes that they're supposed to be doing, but haven't actually ever run, including a chess and history class, to which I, of course, said, who's teaching? And was very curious about and got no response. In part, I think they just haven't gotten it up and running yet to see who they have who could do it or what the situation was. But I do it in a New York Minute if they ask me, but I don't know that they'll ask me. But in any case, I suspect it would be very interesting, but I don't know that they've actually built it so much as they've just designed the minor. Like, so they have a theoretically we'd like to cover these 6 things, but in practice, we actually only cover 2 or 3 of them, right? I think that's sort of where they are in the program. And that, ideally they'll be able to fill out the program over the next year or 2, but they're just not there yet. But certainly they're worth asking and talking to them again and sort of see where they are in their situation. And so Alexi, the program at UTD is it one class or a whole program of classes? What's the setup?
It's 2 courses. I put a link in and they're for elective credit. So each course is 3 elective credits. So you could get a total of 6 credits taking the course.
Okay, so it's not a minor field, but it's a couple of things to sort of fill in the resume and fill out all the various classes.
2 elective classes, so I mean, I don't know how many courses constitutes a minor, but in any case, Joshua, earlier I pointed out that I think you were talking about the Happy Trust is what has American Chess Bulletin online.
I don't think so, but it might be, or it may be that 2 places have it.
Okay, well, Happy Trust does, so
Okay.
I put a link for that if people want to look for American Chess
Okay,
Bulletin
cool.
online.
All right, yeah, that does not sound at all familiar, but like it's entirely possible more than one group has it. And I'm certainly, I mean, I've looked a couple places for different things and may certainly have missed stuff. Mostly I go to Cleveland and World Chess Hall of Fame, right? These are sort of my 2 trips. But yeah, I'm sure I miss stuff all the time. The distinguished, there's also I don't think it's up, there's a picture that was sent to me by Dan Lucas. Apparently in 2003 or 4, they started putting together, they have one of those wooden plaques that's like a shape of a shield, and you add names every year. At the top it says, distinguished chess journalist or something. And they have like 4 or 5 people for 2004 and 4 or 5 people for 2005. And Dan would like us to work on completing that board, or at least adding to it, so we can combine that with some of what we have here and sort of see where everybody is, and can kind of continue that work there. But I don't know if Pete was involved in those discussions, or maybe not, because Pete was mentioned. Like, I think because Pete was listed here with living chess journalist, I didn't put you in the discussion. Because I didn't want you to have to be in a spot where you were voting either for or against yourself, right? So
Right.
I think John Donaldson, me, and a few other people, Sophia, you might have been mentioned in this too. Or I don't remember exactly who else. But in any case, there were several people who I had kind of roped into discussion, and that's there. So we'll continue building these out over the next few months or years, as the case may be.
You know what's interesting, Joshua, in this
Yeah.
regard? Years ago, there was a Chess Journalist Hall of Fame that I remember too. Harold Dundas was one that was installed, and Glenn Peterson also. And it kind of disappeared. And I was just wondering, if anybody knew what happened.
My guess is that that's the big shield-shaped piece of wood with the nameplates that they have at US Chess headquarters. I'll try to send you that picture. I know Dan sent it to me a while ago, and then I guess recently sent it over to Grayson. So they haven't had a chance to deal with it yet. But I will take a look and see. And I know it wasn't like our lists were similar to their lists, but they weren't the same. And again, our lists were not meant to be complete. These were sort of people who we thought about early on off the top of our heads as we were beginning to think about it. So if there's somebody who's missing, please don't take it as a slight. It wasn't meant to be a complete and full list. It's just sort of where we were starting. Aside from, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Glenn should be added to that list on the top there.
And then other than that, though, I think we're about done. Is there anything that people would like to discuss that we haven't discussed? I don't see any hands. I don't hear anyone saying anything. And several people have wandered off, but most of us are still here and awake, which is always good. So I think that's a good sign. Now I recorded this. I'm going to stop sharing this so I can kind of see the buttons here. It's set up so that it's recording, and in theory it's recording, and then we can put it on the CJA YouTube page, and they'll be able to see the meeting if they haven't attended and so forth. And there is a chat which had a bunch of things on it, but now I don't see oh, there we go. So there is a chat. I don't know if this will copy over or if I should try to copy this and move it over. Grayson, or people who Zoom a lot, does anybody have any idea if this will stay when the recording stays, or do I need to copy this for everybody? What should I do?
What?
Any ideas?
I don't
how
actually
to-
Zoom a lot.
Excuse me?
I don't actually Zoom a lot, so that's
I'm on my own. Is this what we're saying? Well, I'll try to copy it over here and so that we can have this, especially since I know Lexi said she put in a link or two. So try to make this something that I can access or that we can have for people to see. Even if it's not the people who like were here, so others can see it and so forth too. So hopefully that did not work. All right. So I was trying to cut and paste and that didn't work. Hopefully I'll be able to figure something out. Aside from that, is there anything else that we'd like to add before we adjourn for the evening? Well, then I'd like to thank you all for coming. Of course, you'll be hearing more from me as we put together the awards and sort of make any and all adjustments that we need to do this year for the award season, right? That will sort of be the big thing coming up. And I look forward to working with Grayson and so forth on that. Other than that, and some of you I'm sure will be involved in those discussions to some degree and such. Most of you it looks like are judges regularly. So again, I thank you for judging and hope you'll judge again this year. Aside from that, anything else?
Hi,
Alrighty,
Dan.
then
Haven't seen you in a while.
Josh, I wanted to get some address information, so I'd like you to hang on for just a moment after everybody leaves.
Okay, I can do that, no problem. Is there anything else then for everyone else though? Well, then I thank you for coming out and I look forward to seeing all of you, or hopefully all of you at the US Open in August when we have our annual meeting. And we'll take care of everything then and so forth. So any other questions or anything before we go?
Nope.
Nope, all right then.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank
And
Bye.
we'll go from there. You're very welcome. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, so Dwayne, what can I
Hey.
do? Oh, wait, let me,
There we
it's
go.
still recording, so let me stop the recording, or
Yeah.
at least pause it here.